All right, before we get started with the episode today, I just wanted to quickly ask everyone on your podcast app or platform of choice, please rate us 5 stars or whatever star you think we deserve. It helps us in the algorithm. It helps us get found. But more importantly, if you've got a friend who loves Survivor, tell that one friend to check us out if you like us, because if you all do that, we double in size. That's just how math works. With that, let's get right into this episode. All right, everybody, welcome back to the Castaway Consultants, where we tell future Survivor players how to play the game by criticizing current and former players. And on this episode, we're going to be revisiting the post-merge of Survivor Season 13, Cook Islands. My name is Derek Kubicek, one of your 3 glorious and fabulous co-hosts, back after the holidays, after round 2 of quarantine. We're back. And I am joined, again, 2 fabulous co-hosts. Ryan?
I'm Ryan Stacy. I'm your resident superfan who knows everything there is to know about Survivor and is never wrong about anything Survivor-related. I am wrong about most other things, though. But this is a Survivor podcast, thankfully, so I'll sound extremely intelligent.
That's a first. And I am Josh Wessler. I am a near superfan here. I know that I said I was going to watch more Survivor. I'm a bold liar here. And I have 3 seasons remaining, and then I will officially call myself a official superfan. Like Derek said, we're looking back at season 13, which I actually watched about 4 years ago. So it's been fun to at least reminisce a little bit here.
It's been a hot minute.
Yes.
And yeah, this is a rewind episode, so for those of you who have joined us for our previous rewinds, you understand how this goes, but for new listeners, I haven't seen any of these old seasons of Survivor. I've seen 27 and onward, and then I have seen 1 through now 13. I knew the winner of season 13 going in, but that being said, I knew nothing about getting from A to B, so you get to experience this with me for the first time. And then Josh is our memorability consultant. Josh, do you want to explain that a little bit?
Yeah, so since it's been a while since I've watched these, I don't have as much time on my hands as Derek and Ryan, I guess. So I just watched the premiere, the merge episode, and the finale with them.
And then just gauge the things that are most memorable to you.
Yeah, I still obviously remember a lot of stuff, so I'm able to discuss quite a bit during the podcast, but I can also really specify what stands the test of time over the years.
And so the point of this podcast is, there's a lot of Survivor. There's 40 seasons of Survivor, and not everyone has time to watch all of it like we do. So, ideally we want you to watch every season of Survivor so you really know the show, but you can't do it, or maybe you've seen it before and you feel like revisiting it, but you don't have time to watch the whole thing. Well, that's what we're here for. We're here to watch it so you don't have to. We're going to tell you which Survivor is must-watch Survivor and what isn't, what you can kind of skip and let us handle for you. So before we get any spoilers, now they're done, Season 13, Cook Islands, Survivor Race Wars. Is Survivor Cook Islands must-watch Survivor?
So I'll start. I think, if I'm speaking specifically for the post-merge, I'm going to actually fall on the side of the fence for yes. I think we have 3 iconic people, 3 iconic contestants, castaways, who we get their beginnings. And I am huge about knowing origins and huge about being ingrained in mythos. They're going to come up time and time again in and outside of the game on social media, and you're not complete if you don't at least see the post-merge. I think I fell on the side for the pre-merge that it wasn't, but I still want you to see part of the season. Every one of those people is still there in the post-merge, and we've gotten away from kind of the icky, gross feeling, race-anchored things in the pre-merge. It's not completely gone, but it sorts itself out in a clean way, I guess. Survivor tried to make this awful, and the contestants shining through made it good. I'm trying to think of a good way to articulate this.
No, that's fair. To speak about the whole race thing, it did not completely blow up in their face because of the people they cast.
Right.
They saved it.
The contestants saved it.
Yes.
The production did themselves 0 favors.
But, you casted intelligent, thoughtful people who recognized what this could be.
Yeah.
On a bad and on the good end of the spectrum, and they made that part of the show fine.
Yeah.
But I'm going to go ahead and say this is not must-watch Survivor. I don't like this season very much. I think there's a couple of fun players, and by 5 or 6 out of 20, that is not good. It has an excellent final tribal council.
Which is one of the reasons I love it.
Excellent winner and runner-up, and that's about it. I don't like this season. There's a few people like, but I think it gets ugly, not even for racial reasons. I think some of the stuff in, especially the second episode of the post-merge, is super ugly and uncomfortable. To the point where it's not fun to watch. A lot of internal strife and conflict where things are getting kind of personal, and that's not why I watch Survivor. I don't like this kind of stuff. And also there's some mechanic stuff where game structure that I think is extremely flawed, really wonky, and Survivor gets lucky that it works out as good as it does. It could have gone disastrously wrong, so I don't care for this season. It's definitely a bottom tier season for me. Maybe not bottom tier, but like second level to the bottom tier.
Right, because there's bottom tier, like never watch this season again.
There's Thailand. We're not Thailand bad.
There's Thailand. There's season 39.
To spoil my rankings so far, this is above Thailand. But I don't like this season.
Yeah, I'm pretty fine with this season. The post-merge is definitely better than the pre-merge because of the storyline aspect of it. And like Derek said, we really do just get away from highlighting the race part of this season. So that's comforting. At least I'm going to end up saying it's not must-watch Survivor, mostly just because I still would recommend watching it, just because I think that it can be enjoyable the first time through. But really the main reasons are just the mechanics of it. A storyline and the players can only bring a season so far. And like Ryan said, they got really lucky with the people they got into the finals. But it still kind of left a bad taste in your mouth because it was forced at a certain point. And we'll get into all of that. So ultimately, that's why I'm going to say that it is not must-watch Survivor.
And the other thing I will say, if you don't know anything about the season, let's say if you're spoiler-free and you don't know what happens, I would recommend watching it because this is a better season if you don't know anything about it. If you know what happens, it's a slog. But if you don't know what happens, it's a little bit more fun. So I'm going to say anybody who's not seen the season and doesn't know who wins and doesn't know anything about the season, go watch it. Anybody else, don't bother.
And I will say all I knew was the winner.
Yeah.
And I greatly enjoyed. It was a short post-merge, but the way everything fell out, easy to root for the group we end up with at the top. So maybe it was more from an entertainment aspect than a gameplay aspect that I greatly appreciated it.
Okay, so before we jump into this, let's just quick refresher the cast. There's 9 people left. There's originally 4 tribes, but really there's 2 tribes coming into this. We have the group of the 5 Raro members and the 4 I2 members. So coming in from Raro, we have Nate Gonzalez, a shoe salesman from California. Adam Gentry, a copier sales executive from California. Candace Woodcock, a pre-med student from Washington, D.C. Parvati Shallow, a boxer from California, and Jonathan Penner, a writer from Los Angeles. And then 4 people coming in from I2. We have Sandra Oakley, an actress from Los Angeles. Yul Kwan, a management consultant from California. Becky Lee, an attorney from Washington, D.C. And Ozzy Luth, a waiter from California. So literally everyone's either from California or Washington, D.C. That's left. That's it.
Nice.
That's it. I mean, we're diverse, but... Are we really?
Geographically,
Not
within the
at
United
all.
States, not at all.
Anything else before we jump into this episode?
Let's go.
Just one last reminder of our winner picks. I have Jonathan Penner as my winner pick, and you guys have Ozzy, correct?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Yep, and even though we're stuck, I think both Josh and I would have jumped to Yule at the merge based on what information we had.
I also would have jumped to Yule.
But we're stuck.
We're stuck.
We're stuck.
So we'll see how this plays out for us. Episode 11, Why Would You Trust Me? So, Jonathan Penner has been very lucky. He's managed to survive this long, and most of the reason that's happened is because he's managed to catch a F-ton of fish. Nearly Aussie levels of fish. Unfortunately, he's getting a little big for his britches and starts getting a real bossy around camp. Not a good way to win over a bunch of young people.
We saw the same thing play out in Africa. You can't be playing parent to the young people on your tribe. Just let them dig their hole. Highlight the fact that you're valuable instead of highlighting that they are not. Always try and frame things positively, so not a good move.
No one wants a mom or dad on Survivor.
No.
So we get to the merge, and they have our feast, and the Raro tribe, they're getting drunk, and Jonathan Penner, he's getting annoyed because they're getting faded, as he puts it. And this doesn't matter, but I just love it. They're getting faded.
Faded, man.
Man, that word has fallen out of the nomenclature, hasn't it? I feel like it's all about lit now.
I mean, I would even say that, like, faded is still used, but it's not for drunk anymore.
Right. It's
usually more drug related than anything.
I want to hear Jonathan Penner say they're getting lit, and I just want that.
They're getting blitzed, as the kids would say. Hashtag so lit.
But ultimately, he does the right thing of just saying this to the camera instead of actually to people. He lets them make their own mistake here.
And generally, Penner's pretty good about that. He's got some phenomenal confessionals. Mm-hmm. We have Ozzy and Nate forming a bond, which is good. You know, just try and form, you don't have to flip, but just forming that connection on the other side is good, just to have it. You never know what you're going to need. Adam is drunk, and he's getting flirty with Parvati, and this whole season he's been macking on Candace, and now he's trying to get with Parvati too. He's such a douche.
Adam.
I don't want to go so far as to say douche, because Adam turns out to be a much more complex castaway and character than I think anyone gave him credit for, which, I mean, to his credit, alcohol makes you do weird things. And even as we're recording, I'm not drunk, okay, guys, but I may have had a couple last night. I'm not feeling so great today.
Derek is hungover today.
My legs hurt, but last night was fun. I'm just saying, you don't know what the consequences are going to be when all of this falls away, because this could have blown up in his face easily on not just like a potential romantic level, but on a game strategy level. You can't do this.
I mean, here's the thing, is that he might be complex, and he surprised me a couple of times with just the way that he spoke at Tribal, but whether he's drunk or sober, he's still a D-bag.
Exactly. Douchebags can be complex, but that doesn't mean they're not a douchebag.
I'll let that fall to you guys.
I know douchebags. Coming from one.
So Yule goes to work on Penner, and I love these two together because they have the most candid conversation
without being candid at all.
They're speaking the truth without fully speaking the truth. It's both candid and cagey.
What if I told you that I hypothetically had the idol? Would that, in theory, sway you, Jonathan, to maybe jump over to old I2 with us?
Well, hypothetically, of course, this is just hypothetically. If you did have the idol, maybe I would have no choice but to flip. And it's just wonderful.
Because if I didn't, then you would just threaten to vote me out if I don't, and I wouldn't get any jury votes anyway.
It's the best part of the season, I think, is just the conversations between Yule and Penner.
Yeah.
And these guys are lifelong friends now since the show's over. They're great friends, and they are awesome. I love these two.
I have to say, this is this might be my favorite strategic interaction that I've ever seen in Survivor. Later on, Jonathan is going to be talking to Yule about politics, and I feel like this conversation is what he was playing in his mind. He's thinking wow, I was pretty political there. Yule was pretty political there. Whoa.
Penner basically says he would only consider flipping if Yule has the idol.
Yeah, he needs tangible proof. Show me the goods.
Good thing Yule's got the idol.
Good thing. Yeah,
Hypothetically.
Hypothetically. So at this point, Becky obviously noticed he's got the idol, so Yule decides to make sure his alliance stays in place, and he shows Sandra and Ozzy the idol. Normally I'm against showing people idols, but this is the super idol. So you can kind of do whatever you want. You can kind of just swing it around, swing your weight around. What are people going to do about it? Not much.
Well, I think it works.
Yeah, I think it absolutely works.
Because, I think there's a reason that the edit even builds up this relationship between Ozzy and Nate. It's so that if you go back and watch the season, you see that Yule was right to reveal the idol. I know that this is a little bit different, and, I try to reference season 39 as little as I can. But do you guys remember when Elaine told everyone that she had the block a vote or the steal a vote or whatever? Aaron and Missy were thinking about flipping at that point until they realized that they had something in their back pocket.
Yep.
This absolutely incensed the I2-4 to stay together, even though we are now merged and the dynamic is flipped.
Yeah, you can keep your minority alliance in line if you
Yes.
reveal some information. Something to rally around.
Right. So I think this is the right time to reveal it, because you can potentially change the game.
Yep. I 100% agree. Ozzy wins immunity. Wow.
What?
Ozzy winning immunity. What a shock. So, okay, there's 5 Raro people. They can kind of pick who they want. They can't pick Ozzy. Who's the next obvious threat? It's Yule.
Yep.
Vote out Yule.
Yep.
Yule's like, hey, Jonathan, why don't you come over here? Look what I got.
I got myself an idol.
And Yule delivers a threat. If you do not join us right now, we're voting for you. You guys will all vote for me. I'll play the idol, and you're gone, Jonathan. And Jonathan goes to the rest of his line. It's like, what if Yule has the idol? I'm like, he doesn't have the idol. Don't worry about it.
But what if?
But what if? Because I just saw it. He doesn't actually tell them, though.
And not spending a ton of time on it. I love reading between the lines. They probably have all considered that Yule has the idol, but if you have enough footage, again, to make a bit of a supercut of people telling Jonathan that Yule definitely doesn't have it.
And not even, I don't think he has it. They're saying, no, there's no chance he has it.
Yeah.
What? How can you say that?
Yeah.
Now, in fairness, Jonathan Penner's kind of done this to himself.
Oh, yeah.
Because he has no pull with his current alliance. You want to know what pushes him over the edge. It's the fact that he's isolated himself. He really doesn't have anywhere to hang his hat.
It all goes back to the mutiny. Bad move. It all goes back to the mutiny. But we're looking at this from the point where, okay, well, here we are now.
Yes.
What do you do next?
Yes, and we've talked about this at length because Yule's threat is a great one. Join us or you go home tonight. But Jonathan does have a play. Brian, break it down for us.
What Penner should do is tell Yule, yes, I'm in. And then be like, okay, because they're going to end up voting for Nate.
Yep.
Because Yule's like, we'll vote for whoever you want if you're with us. And Penner says, I get along with Nate the least out of my group. Okay, so that group votes Nate. Penner stays with his group. It's 5 votes for Yule. Yule plays the idol. Nate's gone. Now it's 4-4, but there's no idol in the game. It's Penner's best play.
Mm-hmm.
What is going to end up happening is he is going to actually flip. It's going to be 5 votes for Nate, 4 votes for Yule. Penner needed to play Yule to get the idol out of the game, to give himself a chance, because Penner's flip, now he has betrayed literally everyone in the game. Penner cannot win. He can't. Yeah. He will not win. The only person who likes Penner is Yule. No one else really likes him. Maybe Sandra and Becky, but they've even said they don't trust him in the past. And they've been a little iffy on him. Raro hates him now. Ozzy does not like Penner. All he has is Yule. If Penner gets to the end, he gets maybe 1 vote.
Yeah, the only way that he would win is he would have to get extremely lucky of being put up against someone who's done nothing the entire game and combo that with everyone hates them as well. Odds of that happening are so unlikely that you can't even consider it.
Drop us in that moment, and that description you just gave, Josh, great description, matches absolutely nobody.
Maybe a cowboy was still in the game.
Yeah, right.
Or Flicka.
Well, I'm thinking of like someone just has a giant fall from grace,
right?
And like hasn't done it. So like, let's say like it's a final 2 and Becky gets to the end, but she's also just gone off the rails, just burning bridges left and right in the process.
Sure.
Maybe, but you can't assume that something like that is going to happen.
Someone would have to go like full Jeff Varner to give Penner a chance to win, basically. Yeah. Normally I know we sometimes shy away from saying they can't win. This is one of the most confident I've ever been at a merge. First episode after merge, who can no longer win. I think Penner's one of the best.
Yeah.
Most least likely to win.
And this is the wrong move. But it is interesting. We find out at the reunion show that one other thing that Yule said that didn't make the initial cut is, Jonathan, you realize they're only keeping you around. They don't like you already. They're only keeping you around because they think you might have the idol. So if I have to play the idol, that gives them all the more reason to just vote you out. So it shrouds the game in a little bit more mystery.
Sure.
This is not a compelling enough argument, or it should not have been a compelling enough argument to sway Jonathan, but obviously it was.
No, he's not been at this camp. He's been with these people for like 2 days. There's no way you would know this.
Right.
Mm-hmm. So I think you have to reject everything Yule is saying.
Right.
Yeah, and even if you're worried about like a tie or anything like that going forward after this vote, even that is a better situation.
You still have a chance to win.
Burning a bridge against everybody.
Yeah, he burned so many bridges. Every bridge has been burned down, and Yule's bridge is just charred. It's still standing, but every other bridge is gone. It's a terrible move. So it ends up being 5 votes for Nate, 4 votes for Yule. Yule still got the idol. Nate's out of the game on the jury. He's got some great final words on his way out. He calls Jonathan a stanky whack fruitcake. I love it. Excellent final words from Nate. Nate's one of the few people on the season I like. I thought he was funny.
He's
good.
He's great.
He's not a good player, but he's funny.
He's come a long way from a worst player of episode 1.
No, not really, because we gave him worst player of the pre-merge.
That's fair.
At least he's talking to Ozzy.
Fine, as a character.
Yeah, he's a fun character. I like Nate. So let's get into best and worst player of the episode. Josh, who do you have for best player?
I think it is Yule. And pretty obvious here. He's able to single-handedly convince Penner to flip over here and make a move that is against his best interest and potentially save his game completely. I think it's a slam dunk, Yule.
It's Yule. We talked about him swaying Penner, but also revealing his super idol at the right time to his entire alliance. To quote Jack Sparrow, it's all a matter of leverage, and you need the proper leverage.
And the door moment.
And at the opportune moment, and the door will lift free. This was the door. It lifts free. The game has been busted wide open for what was formerly the I2 Minority Alliance. Good job, Yule.
I agree completely. I couldn't have said it better myself. It's Yule. Worst player.
And on the other side, here is Penner with the worst. Pretty self-explanatory, everything that we said. Essentially no chance of winning this game now.
Yeah. Not only did he has he betrayed everyone, betrayed half of the people this episode, but he'd also rubbed them the wrong way, which put them in the position to not care if Yule idles him out of the game, which we didn't talk about. They're probably like, oh no, you're going to get idled out of the game. Why do we care?
If Penner got idled out of the game, it'd be that meme. Oh no, anyway.
Correct.
Yeah, he's pretty screwed either way, so what does it matter?
Yeah, like, Penner with a bullet.
Penner with a bullet, worst player, easy. Easy. This is one of the easiest episodes we've ever had. Episode 12, You're a Rat.
Who could they be talking about?
I wonder. And this is, I think, the low point of the season. I hate this episode. It's one of my least favorite episodes of Survivor.
The second half of it, I think, is the worst, but the whole thing just has a grimy feel to it. Like, yeah.
It's icky. It never goes like full like 39 or one of the dark episodes of Survivor, but it's like the tier above that, in my opinion. Parvati lashes out at Penner, and it's kind of funny because they're all kind of mad at him. And Penner's like, well, you know what? He had the idol. I saw it. And they're all just like dumbfounded and jaw drop. Like, oh.
And I read some of those looks as like, well, why didn't you tell us that? Yep. And his retort would have been, I shouldn't need to.
Yep.
But again, he did that to himself. But you're right. It's funny. They're like, oh dear.
and I mean, ultimately, I agree with the fact that you don't tell them that he has an idol because you're going home then. Because there's no way that you telling any of that group gets through without being said through tribal. If that happens, you're getting the votes from the other on the other side.
Yep. So we're gonna have an auction. One of the things that is put up for auction is power in the game.
Yes, we need more power in the game.
More power in the game. If you get something like this, put all your money on it. If you have to bid every dollar you have, do it. Mm-hmm. So, obviously Candace was bidding really highly for this, but Becky and Yule pool their money together to get it to Becky.
Mm-hmm.
Excellent move from both of them, especially, Yule, who cares if you don't get it, but your closest ally has it. The most important thing is your opponents don't have it.
Right.
It's really a whole bunch of nothing.
Mm-hmm.
The power is you steal somebody else's money and send him to Exile Island.
Yeah, and what is funny is that Becky obviously she wins it, and they send Candace right back to Exile Island. Just call it a season 13 Survivor meme at this point.
Candace and Exile Island, name more iconic duo.
And what is even funnier is I'm pretty sure Becky goes on to win absolutely no bids for the rest of the auction.
It's hard to say because there's a lot of stuff that gets cut. So
Sure.
They don't show everything in the auction.
Sure.
But during the auction, Yule fesses up to having the idol because I think his thought process was he didn't want to he wanted to be nice to Candace and not have her waste all her energy looking for it. And he's like, yeah, I have it. You don't have to go looking for it because it's right here. I got it. Again.
Parvati's in the bathtub like, oh, Penner was telling the truth. Oh, no.
Again, if this was a regular idol, I would be condemning you heavily for this. But this is a super idol. It doesn't really matter.
It's a super idol, and guess what? You have the numbers now.
You can't. No vote is going to be split on you.
You're swinging your idol around. Nobody can do anything. You're untouchable, and that's why I don't like the super idol. And this is it's going to get nerfed next season. Hallelujah.
Now, I will say, in Modern Survivor, I don't think that the I-2-4 stays the I-2-4 to the end. I think that Survivor, the game, has evolved since then, as it should. And I think that there are a couple times in the season where I'm going to say, hey, we still have a super idol here. Why aren't we trying to get rid of it? It opens the game up for the future. We always say, don't think about day 39 on day 1. But on day 32, maybe you need to start thinking about day 39 a little bit.
You gotta think ahead. Funny moment, Ozzy bids on an unlimited ice cream machine. And he bids $4.20.
And laughs. Oh, Ozzy.
I appreciate that.
And then at the reunion, he's like, maybe I played up like Surfer Bro a little bit. I'm like, yeah, well... Yes. This is evidence to the pro.
Was that intentional, or did he actually think it was just funny?
Both.
And Penner cleans up at this auction because everyone else seems kind of stingy. So Penner just buys a ton of stuff.
Yeah, he gets like a whole pizza. He gets like a hot dog with sides.
And he's kind of obnoxious about it.
Yeah.
He's gloating.
Yeah.
Be a good winner. Be a good winner.
Especially when you burned all these bridges, any chance of just building that back up, you want to try to take it and not just spit it right back at them.
Now, Jeff said there was no sharing allowed, but if you get a whole pizza, you should definitely share it if you're allowed to. That's one of those things. Try and mend some bridges.
Yeah, honestly, if you're Jonathan, I don't even think you participate in this minimally. And then you can even say that later. Like, I know that this probably does nothing with you guys. I've done a lot of bad things, but I really wanted to leave this stuff for you guys. Jonathan even bid up Parvati on a bath that I think he had no interest in winning. He did it just because.
Just to make her spend more money.
Yes.
So after the auction, Parvati is just talking trash about Penner behind his back to Sunder and Becky, and everyone's kind of on board. Even like Yule's like, yeah, he was kind of obnoxious at the auction.
Yeah.
Not great. Mm-mm. We're going to go to the immunity challenge, and for the one and only time this season, Ozzy does not win. It's a math-based challenge. Don't know how good Ozzy is at math, but Adam ends up winning. Yeah, this is the only one Ozzy doesn't win. Adam, Parvati, and Candace, they are like, hey, Yule, why don't you vote Penner out before us? And Yule's like, I don't want to because Penner's extremely predictable. I know exactly what he's going to do.
By the way, this is a flaw in Yule's game.
Yes, this is Yule's one flaw, I think.
And he does it in season 42. Mm-hmm. Like, he's super smart, but he doesn't know when to turn it off. And this is the one thing that if I were on Survivor and this was happening with me, I would try to take lessons from Yule's game. And information is power. Don't let them know that you think that Penner is a logical player. You got to keep that to yourself. That is something that you know.
And I've said in the past that I think the player who's closest to you,
yes,
Derek, in real life, is Yule. And I think this scene is a particular argument in my favor. Because this is kind of how you talk when, like, if we're discussing a strategic thing in a game.
Right.
You know, sometimes you'll hide your stuff from me, like if we're playing a board game against each other. But often, you know, you'll discuss the strategy out loud and you'll explain your thought process, which, you know, that's great, and it's something I really appreciate. And I think it is the similarity between you and Yule, but it's something that is not necessarily great to do in the game of Survivor. Like, it's one thing to do with your allies. It's another thing to do with the camera. It's great if you can do that to the camera. But explaining it to your enemies...
Yeah, this is why you're wrong about this being good for me. But I love what Adam and Parvati kind of come back with. I don't know if it's right here exactly, but they're going to say... we will not give you our jury votes. You can use your jury vote as leverage because if you're voted out, you get power post-merge eventually. So this is a great move by them to try and just further their game.
Yep.
Because you never know what happens.
And that's going to come into play more in next episode.
Yes.
But that conversation starts here.
Yes, it starts here.
But we'll talk about that more next time.
Yes.
That's where it becomes really relevant.
Yep.
But yeah, I think Yule, his flaw is he's too honest.
Yeah.
He's too truthful to everyone, and you got to play your cards a little closer to the chest sometimes.
Yeah, the Boston Rob approach would have been great here. Okay, we want to vote out Penner before us three. Are you cool with that? You know, I will take it into strong consideration. You give him a fist bump, and you go your merry ways. And then if anyone says, "Oh, Yule was thinking about voting you out first," he'd be like, "I mean, we're playing a game of Survivor. Of course, if you come up to me and you want to have a conversation, I'm going to entertain it." And then Penner goes, "Wow, that was very honest. Thank you."
Yep. You know, the one exception to the thing with Yule is if you're playing with someone like Penner, it's great.
Yeah, you need to be careful.
Yep.
Like, if the subject is someone who's very emotional or someone who makes decisions emotionally, you can't do this. You need to be more careful with how you approach that.
But the two of them can bond over their levels of candor with each other.
Yes.
Which I love. This is why I love Yule and Penner.
Thank you for your candor.
Yeah.
Thank you for your candor.
It's great. You know, just two people speaking openly about the game. It's not great gameplay, but it's fun to watch. And this is like one of the few things I like from this season is the Yule and Penner stuff. So Penner and I2. Penner catches the fish, and Ozzy catches the fish. They decide to eat without Candace, without Adam, without Parvati. They just decide to eat all the fish. And it leads to a big fight. So Candace comes out and confronts them. And she's like yelling at Yule and Penner, trying to throw Yule under the bus by saying like, he called you selfish. And Yule's like, no, I called you self-interested. It's very different. He said he doesn't like you. And Yule's like, no. I mean, Yule kind of did say that, but...
Yeah.
Yule's like, no. It's out of context. It just turned into this big fight with some like name calling. Penner ends up getting called rat, weasel, cancer.
Yeah,
dude, not cool.
Yeah,
ugly.
As Castaway Consultants, if you're on the bottom, we do promote stirring up camp, creating chaos, exploiting fractures. All this does is make you look worse.
Yep.
This does likely nothing for your game, and it certainly does nothing for your image.
Yep. Now, calling people a cancer is not okay.
Yeah.
Look back to Survivor All-Stars when Kathy called Jenna's behavior around camp a cancer.
Oof.
while her mom was dying of cancer.
Yeah. Oh, I'd completely forgotten about that.
You know, and even if they don't have anybody in their life suffering from cancer, it's still a bad look. Fun fact. So don't do it.
Don't do this publicly. Like, I mean, don't call them names like that no matter what, but don't throw people under the bus publicly like this. Do it to people individually.
Yeah, behind their back. You know, creating a public spectacle is almost never good. That is a Hail Mary. And they had other things they could do.
And I'm genuinely curious, so I want to go off topic for a second. How is this different from, say, Sue's final tribal council in season 1, where she's, you know, talking about Kelly Wigglesworth as, you know, like the snake and the rat? Is it because that's more of in context of the metaphor? Because, I mean, she's kind of doing the same thing, except she's already lost the game, so all it does potentially is torpedo her image.
Sure. So Candace is still in the game.
Yeah.
So anything she does is going to come off as manipulative and trying to help her spot in the game.
Right.
Sue's speech and anything you say at the final tribal council, really, you can't, you know, you're not helping yourself. Nothing you do there is helping yourself. So I think anything that happens there comes off as more authentic and true feeling rather than a manipulation. So I think that's why Candace looks worse than Sue. Granted, what Sue said was nasty.
Yeah.
It's also very funny. And she didn't call anybody a cancer.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm fine with names like rat just because, like, people can be weaselly, you know? Like,
weasel.
It's a little bit more descriptive than being like a cancer.
Yeah, that's a cancer latches on and kills you slowly. Is Penner doing that? No.
Yeah.
Uncalled for.
Right.
Is he a rat? Is he a snake? Sure.
I'm just realizing this now, but in Modern Survivor, we get way more of, like, pilot and passenger and driver and passenger. I wonder if they've, like, had conversations like, let's stop with, like, the comparisons to grotesque creatures.
Yeah. I mean, we still get snake, which is the classic.
Yeah.
I don't really think that one's not. If someone called me a snake during Survivor, I would
someone,
wear it as a badge of honor.
If I was getting called a snake at Final Tribal Council, I'd be like, I needed to be.
And thank you.
Thank you.
That means a lot.
I appreciate that. Thank you for telling the jury that I am as deadly as I look.
I was trying to be a sneaky bastard, so you're saying I succeeded.
I succeeded. Anyway, sorry, we got off topic. I was just curious
that's a fair question and a good one. But this fight is ugly, and I hate this. Tribal Council also very ugly, and it's more name calling.
Yeah, Adam gets in on it. Parvati gets in on it.
It's ugly.
Even the people on the jury are kind of like nodding, like that Jack Nicholson gif, like, haha, his comeuppance has arrived. And I'm like, is anyone really having any fun here?
It doesn't feel like it.
Like,
besides Ozzy, maybe.
Sure. I feel like Yule, based on his actions next episode, we'll talk about that. But, like, as a person, you have to know where the game ends. And I feel like we crossed that line a little bit here. Yep. Not season 39 levels. Because like Ryan said, this is, a season that'll be in that tier maybe below the bottom, I guess, to spoil my rankings a little bit too. It doesn't feel so icky, but I didn't have a good time. I think I messaged you guys when I was done saying like, ugh, that was fun.
Yeah, that's one of the bonuses for Josh not having to rewatch everything is he got to skip this episode.
Yep.
So it ends up being 5 votes for Candace, 3 votes for Pender. Obviously, you couldn't vote for Adam, so that leaves Candace or Pender, or Candace or Parvati. Take a pick. I don't think it matters too much.
It doesn't matter. I think I would have rather seen Parvati on a strategic level because she's a little bit more manipulative socially, but we also don't see that as much on display until next episode.
Yep.
So I'm good with the Candace vote for right here, especially because, poor Candace, they were going to send her right back to exile, and you know it.
And plus, I think they all wanted her revenge on her for her mutiny.
Right. Which, if it doesn't hurt that much, you still have the numbers. It doesn't really affect the dynamic. I'm okay. So by inches, Parvati, I think, is better, but why would they know that yet?
It's a fine move. No issues.
Yes.
For best player, I had Becky for winning power in the game at the auction. She eliminated Candace, and she is coming off as less of a threat than Yule. Yule's target grew immensely this episode, by people realizing just how much control he has over the game and how much he's thinking about it. Whereas Becky is playing a very similar game to Yule, but she's not being seen as much of a threat. And
I actually had Yule for kind of the exact reason. He came under fire, but because he had understood Penner so well, he knew that was very unlikely to blow up in his face because he can say, I didn't say that he was, self-obsessed or self-loving. He's just self-interested. We're playing a game. Look at the fun we're having.
But the question is, how much does Penner buy that?
Obviously, it bought his vote. And in terms of winning the advantage, because I thought about that, Yule did lend the money, so that in theory could have benefited him significantly less, but he did that to help strengthen the I-24 alliance, and I really appreciated that. And also, he is not technically the one who sent Candace to exile to build more bad will, we'll call it, with the remaining minority alliance.
Oof. I think I'm going to side with Derek on this one. I don't think there needs to be as much focus on... I do like the point you had about Yule's target growing, but I think because he has the idol, I don't think that is such a negative impact. If anything, it just grows how like positively people could see him in the end, just because there's been nothing that has been shown for people to want to flush the idol. So I think he's basically free rolling here.
He is, but if people played better, this would come back to bite Yule. It's because other people make mistakes that this doesn't come back to bite Yule. Yeah. But if everyone played the game optimally at a certain point, this would have bit Yule in the ass.
And I guess that means that Becky shouldn't be best because she's not playing optimally.
But that doesn't come till later.
Fair, that's fair.
and I guess my main thing is like it just feels like Becky. It didn't do anything like really great.
Well, because there was a lot of great in this episode.
Yeah, so it's more like, can you really give it to Becky because there wasn't that much great going on? Like, yes, there could be negatives to like Yule's side, but at the same time, the positives still might just be stronger than hers.
Okay. Worst player is Jonathan. His poor social game, annoying everybody, and he was eating the fish without rare, which I will say was bad on everyone's part. Don't do that. That's petty. It pisses people off.
Right. Now, I understand maybe, keeping a little bit more for yourselves to strengthen yourselves for the immunity challenges. That's, I guess fine, but don't be so much as like, we're going to sit at this lunch table and you're going to go sit by the trash cans. Yeah. Not cool. And I agree, by the way, Jonathan is the worst with a bullet. When your own new alliance is like, yeah, we really don't like the way he's acting right now, maybe get off that high horse.
But Candace is gone. She's going to come back and play again. Do we want to see Candace come back?
Yeah, I'm okay with it. She's not one of those people that I would be super excited about seeing again, especially on her departure episode. She was, I believe, the first person ever brave enough to mutiny. Mm-hmm. And for the coconuts, for that move alone, as bad as it was, that's iconic. I think she should have come back for Game Changers because she mutinied.
All right.
She didn't vote out her mom, but she did mutiny.
I'm going to say no. The first time watching this, I didn't really care for her. And when she returned, I was like, why? So I'm siding with no.
Candace drives me nuts on every season she's on. I find her extremely annoying in the game. Outside of the game, I've listened to her in interviews and stuff. She seems like a very nice person. But what we see on the screen, I don't like. I don't like her fight with Penner. I really hated that. I thought it was kind of nasty and below the belt. So I don't need to see her again. But we're going to, unfortunately. Episode 13, Arranging a Hit. Parvati accidentally slices her finger open with a machete, and medical has to be called in to stitch it up.
Which, fun story about this particular moment. I was watching this episode with my wife. She joined me for the super long post-merge, all 3 episodes of it. And they have a shot of Parvati trying to chop open a coconut, like, on the beach. And I'm sitting there watching her do it. I'm like, that's a safety hazard. I had completely forgotten, because I would watch it a different day, that they had kind of given a preview of that happening. I'm like, oh, the way she's caught chopping that coconut is just asking for an accident. And then all of a sudden they just cut to girls screaming, blood on hand. I'm like, oh my God.
Yeah, it's a bad cut, too.
Yeah. And the doctor's like, well, you're not going to have to trim your fingernail for a long time. Ooh. And they just keep showing it. And I'm like, stop it. It's something about fingernails. And then they immediately cut to Adam. It's just something about fingernails. Ooh. And I'm like, Adam, I seldom agree with you. But I agree. This is ew.
So we get the Loved Ones Reward Challenge. We do get to see the late Stacy Title, who is the wife of Jonathan Penner. She passed away a couple of weeks ago as we're recording after a really long illness. So super sad to see her here.
That definitely added an emotional pack-a-punch, just because, by all accounts, wonderful people.
Yeah.
That's a hard situation. So,
yeah, it was hard to watch.
Yeah, it was powerful. Honestly, one of the most powerful moments of the season for me, and I think that's just in context of news. Particularly the part at the end of the challenge where Jonathan just goes and steals a kiss from his wife, and Jeff says doesn't even ask for permission. Because we all know typically it's no more love for you.
Yep.
Leave, but he did it anyway, and I was choking up. I was fighting the tears on that.
Yeah, it's really sad. Condolences to Jonathan and his family. That sucks. But Parvati ends up winning the Loved Ones challenge, and she, of course, sends Penner to exile. Shocker. It's the right move.
Yeah.
And she's going to play this super well. But I hate this because they give her dad, her loved one, the power to pick the other two castaways and loved ones to go with. So it's just completely random. It could be good, could be bad, and they give the players the choice. They make Parvati make the choice. It's stupid.
I'm fine with it one time, but in general, yeah, give the choice to the players because it's going to, suss things out a little bit more. But I also think that they know how well things are sussed or not sussed out. So, like, you're not changing any minds.
I kind of like the random aspect of it.
I hate it. Let the players make the choice.
I respect how convicted you are to your opinion on this because you've been pretty consistent with that throughout this entire project. So I understand why you're coming from that angle.
Yep. This isn't Mario Party.
But it could be. We have fire
time.
tokens. We're getting closer.
Chance time.
I'd like to switch my idols, all the idols I have, with all the idols Yule has.
And it ends up
Can
working
he do that, Jeff?
It ends up working fine for Parvati because it's Adam, her only ally left in the game,
Yep.
and Sundra. So
Cool.
good picks.
Honestly, Sunder is one of the people I think with that they should be trying to work over.
Sure.
If they're making a targeted effort at I2, I think Ozzy and Sundra are the easy two to pick out.
Sure. What's funny is Yule, Becky, and Ozzy decide they're going to hide a bunch of food from Adam and Parvati.
They just chucking coconuts into the jungle. We can't have them strong.
But then Adam, Parvati, and Sundra bring back a ton of fruit from the reward, and they're like, okay, maybe we won't do that. And, Penner's not here. There's no tension in camp, and everyone is getting along great. And they're like, Adam and Parvati are actually really fun to be around when Penner's not here. What should we do next? Hey, guys, we have a water obstacle course. Who's going to win immunity?
Definitely Yule.
Close second for Yule. And nobody else is in this. Ozzy it's one of the most dominant performances we ever see in an immunity challenge.
Yeah.
It tosses the sticks out in front of him and does that
And then
big
dives
yeah.
and does it like twice or three times.
Yep.
The only other person, who was close was Yule. Sundra takes like a foot over tea kettle kind of fall, like slipping off of that crate floating in the water. I'm like, oh, that looked awful.
Yep. No, this is Ozzy's challenge. This one's iconic.
Yep.
Just that dive. This is Ozzy. This is his element right here. For the record, I think I'd be pretty good at this challenge. Not Ozzy good, but I think I could win this one.
You'd maybe be second or third.
If I was up against Ozzy, I'd be second or third. But I think in a normal challenge, I'd win
drop
this
you
one.
in right here. You're not winning.
So if we're talking just like what would you be good at? What would you be bad at in the Survivor Challenge? Is anything with balance, like battle, where it's like an extended period of time? Terrible. But put me in the water. I can go all day. I love the water. I just don't like sharks. But I love water.
Don't go in the water, Ryan.
So this, I would love to do this challenge. This is one I want to do. So Adam continues to work on Yule to try and take out Penner. He's trying to make a move, and basically this is where the second part of the conversation, where it's like, hey, vote out Penner tonight, and we will give you our votes, Adam and Parvati. And if you don't do it, we're gonna hold it against you and not vote for you at the end. Okay. I don't think we've really seen this before. Holding your jury vote. Basically using it as blackmail.
This is a legitimate strategy that I wish would get televised more often. I think Modern Survivor does maybe a better job with it.
We've only seen it really one more time, and that's in Blood vs. Water. Vegas tries to do it to Tyson, and Tyson just bitch slaps him out of the game instead. He's like, I don't negotiate with terrorists, kind of thing. Which is, that's fair. That's when we can handle it.
That's its own strategy.
Yep. But Yule is going to do this, and this is going to win Yule the game, because Adam wanted to vote for Ozzy, but because he made the deal with Yule, he votes for Yule. Parvati goes back on her word and ends up voting for Ozzy.
What?
Yeah, and I mean, this is completely up to the people who are making it. Like, there's lying all the time in this, so, like, if you keep it with Yule, then great. If you don't, who cares?
But if Yule doesn't do this move,
he loses.
Yeah, there's a very good chance that it works one way but not the other here.
Yeah, so this is Yule's best move, maybe. Not his best move, but one of his most important moves. Is because he's going to end up turning on Penner. He's going to be like, okay, keep peace in the camp. I do think, for the good of the game, this is the wrong move. Because take a look at someone like Sundra and Becky. They're the keys here. Who can they be? Each other, they're pretty even. I don't know who would win in the final two between those two, but they can both beat Penner every day of the week. So for the two of them, I don't think they should have gone through with this. And even Ozzy, I don't think should have gone through with this, because I think they all should have gone for Adam. Or even Parvati, either one of them. Because I think Adam and Parvati beat everyone. because they have a huge advantage. They have so many people on the jury that they were on a tribe with. We have Brad and Rebecca and Jenny from the pre-merge, who haven't even met some of these people who are on the, none of them have met Ozzy. They've never had a conversation with Ozzy. They've never been on the same tribe with him. So, and then not only that, now we have Nate and Candace, who are super tight with those two. I think if either Adam or Parvati get to the end, they win. Just because they have so many old Alliance members. And sure, they trade a couple of them, but they got along fairly well. It seems like they were generally well liked besides Penner. I think everyone else liked Adam and Parvati. I think they would crush everyone else just because they have that huge advantage.
Did they show any of the decision making here, or Yule talking to the tribe about wanting to vote out Penner? Because that'd give a little bit of clarity on how much we can fault them.
I think they mostly just focused on Yule's thought process.
They do have, I believe, a conversation between Yule and Becky, which would go to the rewatch once you figure out how far Becky makes it in the game. But it is more from Yule's perspective. We've established a pretty clear, I want to say, protagonist for our season now. Even if Adam and Parvati kind of have that underdog, along with a lot of connections on the jury. I do think that with Jenny and Brad both being original Puka tribe, that Becky and Yule also have great connections, and Yule got along with everybody by all accounts.
Interestingly, though, one really interesting thing, Jenny voted for Ozzy, never met him, and was on an original tribe with Yule. So that's interesting.
Right, and see, when we were talking, that's the kind of thing where someone wins 5 immunity challenges and can go to the end with their integrity basically intact. He's one of the few people who can go to the end and say he did that.
Yep.
That is a game that a lot of people will respect just because of the way it is.
Absolutely. But yeah, that's just super unusual. I don't think that's something you can rely on.
Oh, I don't rely on it.
If you have not met them, assume they're not going to vote for you. So you gotta try and find those votes elsewhere. Maybe you can win them over, but do not bet on that.
Yeah.
So, this is a great move for Yule. This is a great move for Adam. This is a great move for Parvati. But for Becky, Sundra, Ozzy, and obviously Penner, this was the wrong move, and I think they should have knocked out Adam. Or Parvati if you want to, but I'd probably go with Adam.
Yeah, I think that makes sense.
So I think ultimately wrong move. 6 votes for Penner, 1 vote Adam. Because again, Penner wasn't beating anybody. So, sure.
Drag him to the end.
He's dangerous, but he's predictible, like Yule said. But again, this is a good move for Yule. Derek, who did you have for best player of the episode?
I had Adam. He shared the reward food along with Parvati. He decided to start helping around camp to show that he can be valuable as well. And then he, along with Parvati, used their jury votes as leverage to help influence Yule. And I really felt like Adam was more of the driving force behind it, so I felt like giving it to Adam.
That's a good argument. Because I originally gave it to Parvati, and I thought they were both pretty tight. And I ended up giving it to Parvati because she won the reward challenge, which I usually don't take into consideration, but she sent Penner to exile, which gave them, this really nice, peaceful day. There's no Penner around. Everyone's getting along great.
Yeah.
And I think that helped steer Yule towards, to keep the peace around camp, we'll get rid of Penner, and, Ozzy, Becky, and Sundra are all on board against their own, best interests. They had a great time without Penner. So I gave it to Parvati, but I think that was a really good argument.
Yeah, I'm gonna side with Adam. Overall, I'm kind of surprised that neither of you mentioned Yule, just for recognizing the situation and deciding, yeah, these two people's potential votes, nothing 100% confirmed, but their potential votes in the end are so important that I should go with this. Now, I don't think it's deserving at best because you'd want to put that on the people applying the pressure, but honorable mention, I guess.
So yeah, the reason that I decided against Yule, you can give him an honorable mention because he played really well, and ultimately this wins him the game. This is a subtle move that wins him the game, right? That's down the line. But in terms of this episode, if we just, bookend it, Adam and Parvati were the shoo-ins to go home, and neither of them did, and I just felt like Adam was the driver behind it, so Adam driver.
Yeah.
Anyway, so that was why I steered away from Yule.
You see, yeah, he's a real Kylo Ren. He's the Adam driver. Very funny. Who'd you have for worst player?
I had Becky. I think that it's kind of a toss-up between Becky and Sundra because I do think that of everyone, getting rid of Penner was their worst possible outcome, especially because we're going to have a surprise Final 3, everybody.
Yep. I want to address that real quick here.
Sure.
Yes, this is the first season we have a Final 3. These contestants don't know that.
Yeah.
So we cannot hold that against them.
That's fair.
So we have to judge as if we're going to a Final 2.
Yeah, yes. I wanted to throw that in parentheses, right? But there was one particular moment that made Becky slightly worse, in my opinion, and it was when Jonathan came to talk to them about what the vote was going to be. Sundra actually looked Jonathan in the eye and reassured him that he was okay, and Becky said nothing and just kept walking. So if I'm splitting hairs based on who can win the game, that was the tiebreaker.
I agree completely. My reasoning down exactly. I agree. It's Becky.
Sounds good.
So I lose my winner pick here. Penner's gone. Bump. So I have to pick a new winner pick. And again, I do this based off of who I picked back in the day when I watched this. And I jumped to Yule because obviously he's got a super idol and he's like the main focus of the season. So and I stand by that. That was a great pick on my part.
Yeah.
I'm surprised that young Ryan did not pick Ozzy here.
You know what's interesting is I was not the world's biggest Ozzy fan. I was always more of a Yule guy. And the Challenge Beast jungle guys, though I can relate to the wanting to live on a tropical island part, where like that sounds fun, and I want to go like spearfishing, I want to just live on the beach. I can relate to that part. I think that would be awesome, and that's something I genuinely want to do. But I always was more interested in the strategy aspects, and so Yule related to me more.
And he could articulate it in confessional and, to his detriment to other players as well.
I love the survival stuff, but what I've always loved more than that is games. Any games. You guys know me. My favorite thing in the world to do is play games.
Yes, that is true.
Especially drinking games.
Can confirm.
Ryan, what do you want to do today? I want to play a game. Again?
Okay.
That's all you ever want to do. It's accurate. I love games. So Yule spoke to me on that level. So I was always more of a Yule. Even as a little kid, I liked Yule a lot more than Ozzy, which is a hot take for kids because Ozzy's one of the most popular amongst kids.
Oh, yeah.
So, yeah, my new winner pick is Yule, and I think I did a bang-up job.
Congrats.
Thanks, bud. So Penner's going to come back and play again. You guys want to see that?
Yeah. Let's just leave it there.
Perfect.
Penner's my top 10 favorite survivors of all time. Absolutely. Bring him back every season. Penner's one of the few you can put on any season of Survivor, and I'm happy. There's a few that are like train wrecks, like an Abby Maria you can put on every season, and I'll be happy because I think they're so funny. Penner's that way because I just want to listen to him talk all day long. Love Penner. He's great. Episode 14, the last regular episode. I have the advantage for once. We get the mud collecting reward challenge, and again, I hate this. First place, second place, and third place all get to go on reward. First place should win and get to pick who goes with. It's not that hard, Survivor. So Ozzy, Parvati, and Yule all win, but Ozzy gets to send someone to exile, and he sends Adam to exile.
Right move. Good
move for Ozzy. But yeah, I hate this way to do reward challenge wins. It's stupid. If you ain't first, you're last. And while they're on the reward, they're at like a spa overnight stay, and Parvati's flirting so hard with Ozzy, and she convinces him and Yule, all three of them, they're going skinny dipping in the hot tub. Yeah, hilarious. And I think this is why Parvati gets invited back. It's because she's like the first person to convince a couple of guys to go skinny dipping with her.
Mm-hmm. Just a casting director's dream.
Yeah.
And really, not necessarily the first person, but one of the first people to really effectively use just like flirtation and just influence that way.
You know what Becky can? Becky's like, hey, maybe we should get rid of Ozzy because he's winning a lot of these challenges. Unfortunately, you will never get the opportunity because Ozzy's going to win the next community challenge.
Two things should be blatantly obvious here. One, Ozzy's winning a bunch of challenges. Two, Yule has a super idol. Do we do anything about either of those things? No. No, yes, you don't really get the chance for Ozzy.
Can't.
But still.
They never get the chance to really do anything about it, or at least
with
for Ozzy.
Either, yeah.
They had one chance with Yule.
Yeah. And I actually missed a note that we had a couple episodes back, but every time Becky comes in and starts talking strategy with someone, even with Yule, I'm always wondering, like, when Yule's talking to her, Becky, what about what's good for you? Becky, what's good for you?
You, not Yule.
You, not Yule. What's good for you? And, like, this was the first time that I've heard her say, this Ozzy guy, he's kind of a problem if we go to the end with him. Yes, he is. And, in fact, there's only one person in your alliance who can beat him, and they ain't named Becky. They also ain't named Sundra. Figure it out.
Yeah, unfortunately for Becky and Sundra, what they don't know is they've lost the game already because it's the final three.
Correct.
They have no chance now that Penner's gone. But they don't know that, and I'm not going to hold that against them.
Right.
Their plan is to go to the end together, I'm sure.
Yes.
Those two. And, that'd be the worst final two ever. Ugh, that'd be Marquesas all over again. Ozzy's going to win immunity easily. Parvati does a really good job. Adam is pathetically bad at the challenge and can't get past the first obstacle. So when they go to Tribal Council, who do we knock out, Parvati or Adam? Parvati was great in that immunity challenge. Yule saw how socially skilled she was. And manipulative. Honestly, you could go either way with Parvati or Adam because they're both fairly good at the game. I think Parvati's probably overall better, but, take your pick. It doesn't matter. Get rid of one of them. You got to.
Yep. I think this was the right move just because from Yule's perspective, what he just saw at the reward challenge, so you might as well just nip that right away and just don't take any chances.
Yeah, Parvati's heating up a little bit there.
Yeah.
And maybe Adam's cooling off. Maybe Candace being gone has sapped all of his energy. I don't know.
Buy low, sell high.
And they are sending him to exile fairly often, so, maybe if they keep sending him to exile. Again, this is the last exile visit right here.
Sure.
But he is pretty weak coming off exile. So, yeah, Parvati's a good move. Totally fine move. For best player, I had Ozzy for sending Adam to Exile Island. He wins immunity and he eliminates Parvati. There's not a lot going on in this episode.
So I know we just kind of like yada through the fact that Parvati's going, but and for the majority alliance, that's good. But we're starting to talk about what's good for Becky, what's good for Sundar, because basically everything is good for Yul. He just needs to get to the end, right? As long as no one from Raro makes it to the end, good for Yul, right? What's good for Ozzy though? What's good for Ozzy is also getting rid of Yul and going to the end with Becky and Sundar. Now, I know you have time to do that. Yul still has a super idol. It is time. You can either force rocks here and take out someone and still have numbers, and you're a physical beast and you're playing on your own, or you flush the idol now.
I disagree. I think you
on a 3-3 vote, you flush the idol now.
Well, here's the thing. Ozzy has to get rid of Adam and Parvati, too.
Yes, he does.
He will.
And he can.
He can. But you still have time to get rid of the super idol. Next week. How about at the Final 5 where they actually talk about doing it and they don't do it? They had plenty of time to do it.
I think it's best for Ozzy now, because I wrote this down in, I didn't go back and write notes. I felt like it was time for Ozzy to try and do something for Ozzy. You need to flush the super idol now. This is modern Survivor Derek thinking right now. I'm not thinking about super tight I-2-4 making it to top 4 together. And I know that Ozzy's also trying to play a stand-up game to his detriment, in my opinion. I think that is a bold strategy, Cotton, and it does not typically pay off. It was time. It was time to force a tie, flush the super idol, or do something else.
I don't think so, because you could get the numbers next week to do it.
It's weird because I actually have Ozzy as my worst player.
And see, okay, I did not give out a worst player for this episode. I thought everyone did what they could.
I felt like Ozzy has been dominant in his own right, but hasn't done anything strategically. And this is going to show up in Final Tribal Council to a certain extent. He needs to do something, and he needs to do it now. He can do it tomorrow, but he had a chance now. And he had a chance to build goodwill with Old Raro Alliance by doing it.
He had plenty of goodwill with the Old Raro Alliance.
I felt like it was time.
So here's the thing. I'm kind of on Derek's side here, mostly because I really dislike just delaying it more and more and more, just because it's like, oh, there'll be a chance next time at the Final 5. Okay, great. Yes, we're assuming Final 2 and all that, but what if he wins immunity? Like, it really ends up just taking, like, one immunity win for him to get him to the end if you keep delaying it more and more. Just because you're flushing the idol doesn't mean you're getting him out of the game. You still have to get him out of the game after flushing the idol.
Yul is no slouch.
Like, it takes 2 total, like, tribals to get Yul out of the game here. And I don't understand waiting so long for it.
And my last piece of supporting evidence, Yul, like Penner, is a logical player. If his super idol gets flushed, he is not going to hold it against you that much. He's already considering knocking Ozzy out of the game.
And that was going to be my second point, is that there's already been rumblings about, like, getting Ozzy out the next chance they get. So he should be trying to get ahead of that and focusing it on Yul. Because once you flush the idol out, like, whoever Yul votes for, either Parvati or Adam here, is going to be going home.
I think Ozzy's perspective is, obviously they're assuming there's Final 2.
Right.
There will be a point where there is no idol. And I think what Ozzy thinks is, like, I'll just beat him then and take him out then because we have the opportunity. Because Ozzy has to get rid of all 3 to win. He's got to get rid of Yul, he's got to get rid of Parvati, he's got to get rid of Adam. He can get rid of those 2 easily and then just beat Yul on his own on that at the Final 3 where he doesn't have the idol.
Yep.
Again, we have something to talk about when we get to the mechanics of this season.
Right.
Everything we've seen in previous seasons would lead to that logical conclusion. So I have no problem with this. You can still get rid of Oz, or you can still flush the idol next time. Get rid of him the time after that.
Right.
It's fine.
But I'll get to my best now because, like you said, there's a lot of just kind of nothing. So it was de facto Yul because for some reason everyone is still okay with going with his best interests, and I don't really understand why.
Well, to be fair, everyone's interests were kind of aligned this time. Getting rid of Parvati is good for everybody.
Yes, but I think it was less good for Ozzy, and I think he says in the reunion show, he's been playing up being like, surfer bro, not really thinking too much about it, just doing my own thing. Well, if that's true and you want to prove that that's not you need to do some wheeling and dealing, and you're running out of time to do it. So is it within his character? Does it stay true? Does it track? Yeah. his decision tracks. But it's one of the reasons that he will ultimately not win this season. So that was just something that I wanted to point out. Josh, I'm interested to hear about your tiebreaker. I guess you already said you kind of side with me on that, but I gave him worst. Ryan gave him best.
Okay, so let's start with best. Between Ozzy and Yule, who's the best?
Yeah, so I'm going to actually kind of fall between what you're saying. So I'm going to go with Derek for the best, but I don't think that it was a negative enough to give him the worst.
Sure. Okay.
That him being Ozzy.
Okay, and I had no one for the worst.
Sure. Right.
Yep.
Yeah.
So I'm fine with Yule being the best and then no worst.
Okay. Parvati, someone's going to come back and play again. Do we want to see that?
Based on what we've seen, I mean, I'm about as okay with Parvati coming back as I am with Candace coming back. I mean, maybe I'm more happy to see Parvati come back. I mean, but from what we've seen, why would we be super excited? You know?
Yeah. Why indeed?
It's one of the few times where I'm glad that the casting directors were in charge and not me.
Yeah. I didn't see anything special from Parvati this season.
Yeah, it's going to work out well, but I definitely... It's one of those where it's like, it's not a no, it's just a, okay.
There's other people I'd put up over
Yeah,
for sure. Okay, finale time.
Finale.
This tribe will self-destruct in 5, 4, 3, ...
Oh, that's the actual name of it?
It's a hint.
Yeah.
It's a hint, because they stop at 3.
Ah.
So Ozzy wins immunity.
So we can just yada yada through that.
Adam's going home. But Adam has this idea. How about we all vote for Yule? He plays his idol and I get knocked out of the game. Yeah, I know I'm going. But no more idol. It's a great pitch. It's a great pitch.
It's a great pitch. I wish he would have made it last episode, because this would have given him a chance to act on that.
And yeah.
So I'm now that's going back an episode, but so it's a positive on Adam's side here. But if he would have tried use this exact same logic and just appealed towards Ozzy and Becky and them one episode earlier, you might actually stand a chance right now, dude.
Sure. But it's a good plan. If you're going out, might as well try and screw somebody else on the way out the door.
We're not going to get there, but I love the never say die attitude from Adam, and I love the fact that he's like, guys, I'm actually trying to help.
Yep.
Flush the idol.
I want a less boring game.
There's nothing that this helps me for. I'm still going home.
Yep. It's just to make a more interesting game, which I respect and I appreciate. It's like that time we played Munchkin, and Michael had to go take a test. And so on his way out, he just played a Wandering Monster card on me just to screw me over and kill me out of the game.
Wandering Monster, Shiva the Destroyer.
And then he quits.
Bye.
It was just like, oh, man, just to screw one person over. I like that. It's not going to work.
I like it.
It's not going to work. 4 votes for Adam, 1 for Yule. And, there's an argument for why Becky doesn't do it, because she thinks if Yule wins immunity, he'll play the idol on her. Okay.
Right.
There's some logic there. Ozzy and Sundra have no excuse.
Correct.
None. So, Josh, for the final 5, who did you have as the best player?
I had Yule here just because he kept the status quo and kept his idol.
It's the only option.
Straight up.
It's Yule.
Yep.
Worst player?
I went with Sundra just because I felt like she had the most to lose by not getting the idol fleshed out. Yeah, you can make an argument for everyone else, but I feel like she just loses the most.
I agree.
I do think that Sundra loses the game decisively, even in a final 2 situation. She loses decisively here, because I think that Becky can beat her, and because her inaction is going to ultimately lead to maybe even a more bitter jury toward her position, and at least Ozzy won immunity.
Yep, that's true. Yeah, Ozzy won immunity. Becky has an excuse. Mm-hmm. Whether or not it was the best move for her, there's an argument. Either way, but Sundra's got the least of anything.
Yeah.
Final 4. And this is where they are told to get ready for their final immunity challenge. Uh-oh.
Oh, no.
Before that, we get the fallen comrades. Okay, and we're done. Derek's misery continues.
I think I talked to you guys through the whole thing.
Oh, yeah.
I don't even know what they threw torches in a fire or something. Oh, right. And I said, I think that they should have let them just talk mad crap like, you mutinied, bye.
Yep.
You mutinied, bye.
But who cares? Yada, yada. Final immunity challenge, they're told, final 3. 3 of you are going to the end. Here's the problem.
Yule's jubilation is infectious.
Let's talk about this.
Super Idol that carries you all the way to the final 4. And now there's no more Terry Dietz Memorial Challenge in between there where there's no idol and you just have to win immunity to make it. That's gone. The hell. Okay, so basically Yule finds the idol on day 2, episode 2, and wins the game.
Yep.
I love Yule. but this is some BS.
Yes.
This is a horrible mechanic. I'm glad this is the only time we get this specific way. Don't get me started on fire making challenges in the future.
It's the same thing, though.
Yeah.
It's essentially the same thing. Don't give someone a cakewalk to the end.
Now, I get why we have a final 3. Especially we have a 20-person season. I can live with it. Especially because what if we ended up with a Sandra and Becky final 2? I get it. I think with 16-person seasons, you can do a final 2. 18, you can go either way. 20, final 3. It's fine. But the Super Idol business and the final 3 is a bunch of BS.
And to production's credit, they are going to fix it.
Yes. I think they recognize immediately, that wasn't good. So they fix it next season. Good for them. And again, this works out well because we get Yule versus Ozzy in the end, which is a lot of fun. They got lucky.
Yes.
Yeah. Production gets lucky quite often, which is fine as long as they make the right choice afterwards.
Yep. Ultimately,
I like Final Threes just because when you talk about like Survivor sticking to landing, even if you have just like a complete like blowout in Tribal Council, it still kind of just feels off. Like I want it to actually like reach its peak at Final Tribal and not reach its peak at like the Final Immunity Challenge. Sure. So that's why I'm overall in favor of the final 3 versus a final 2 because usually it's just a blowout.
I can live with it.
Sure.
I've accepted the final 3. It was weird at the time. I did not watch this episode live because I had to go to some stupid middle school concert that I had to sing in, so I missed this episode live. And I didn't watch it until a couple years later.
In fairness, I'd have missed this episode to watch you sing.
That'd have been entertaining.
So I didn't, I can't imagine watching this live. I probably would have just raged out at the BS, but it's fine. Final Immunity Challenge, it's a perch challenge. Final 3's confirmed. Sandra and Becky have officially lost the game. They cannot win.
Yeah.
Impossible.
That's what Jeff told them on the beach before the challenge even started. He might as well have said, Sandra, Becky, go home.
It's over. Ozzy wins immunity, of course. Yule's got the idol. So they kind of talk about forcing a tie to decide who should go to like a fire making challenge. Yule offers to give Becky the idol, and she turns it down, saying she wants to earn it there. Okay, that's fair if you do a good job at fire making. Like that can be like, oh cool, you know, it's the whole Chris Underwood thing. You jump in, you took fate into your own hands, and you did a great job, and you blow them out of the water, and you make it to the end. Yeah, it's gonna take 90 goddamn minutes.
And to go with your point, if you're in Final Tribal Council later on, and you're arguing that you were just as much of a powerhouse as you were just more behind the scenes and sneakier about it, coming out and being able to make a fire in a minute, that would impress people. They'd be like, oh, there is more to this person than I thought. And she did not prove it.
Yeah.
I don't want to... Obviously, this does not lose her the game.
Yeah, she's already lost the game.
But...
It couldn't have hurt.
Right.
Now, since Becky can't make fire, apparently, or is terrible at it, now maybe she should just take the idol and try and get the third place money.
Yeah.
Because she can't win.
Yeah.
So, I'm just for fun, because what are we if not speculative talk show hosts?
Mm-hmm.
Becky takes the idol. They vote out Yule.
That'd be funny.
I think she still loses the game.
Yeah.
But does she?
Yeah.
She gives the money to Ozzy at that point. Ozzy gets all the money. Yeah, I think Becky would get a lot of criticism for it, just because some of the people on the jury would get all like high and mighty. I would like the move. I think it'd be a good move.
Right.
I'd award her points.
I think if we're being consultants and we're telling you, drop us in where you are right now and give yourself the best chance to win the game, that is her best chance to win the game, is to take the idol from Yule, out-strategize him in a totally devious and evil and underhanded way, but you did it.
Yeah, the biggest flashiest thing you can do at the Final Four, do it.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
If you could pull it off, do it. Especially if you're the underdog position, do the biggest flash thing you can do.
We know this doesn't always pay off. No. Dean loses, and he had a great, Final 7 onward, near flawless. I just wanted to talk about it because that'd have been fun.
Yes, absolutely.
It's been very entertaining. I would also like to point out, it's very, very, very minor, but I don't understand Ozzy's obsession with making it fair and tying it up. Just because there's such a close bond between Becky and Yule that I think it's in his best interest to vote out Sandra here. Just because then Becky's a almost guaranteed vote for Yule.
Sure.
So if she makes it onto the jury, you're not getting her vote.
Sure.
You don't really know at this point what Sandra would have ended up doing.
And she ends up voting for Yule. But.
Yep, but at least that's up in the air a little bit more.
Sure. That's a
so
really good point.
I think you just take that into your hands and just vote her off and keep Becky in the game.
You know, Ozzy's big on like the best should go. That's just kind of his mantra.
Easy to say when you're the best.
Yeah, easy to say when they're the best, and but it ends up being pretty good because putting those two in that position and just making them just so embarrassed is it just boosts you up.
Ultimately, best case scenario worked for him.
Yeah, it's fine. But yeah, you do make a good point. 2-2 tie. Oh, we go to fire. After an hour of them trying to make fire with Flint, Jeff gives them matches. Sandra wastes all of her matches and runs out, and Becky finally manages to get it and wins. And it's just embarrassing.
Mm-hmm. One of the most memorable moments of the season,
oh, yeah.
I will say.
Hilarious. One of the funniest moments of Survivor. Iconic. Best player. Final four.
I had Ozzy. Ultimately, it didn't matter for Yule, the final challenge. Ozzy, it did. He needed to win here. So, and he did it. He took it into his own hands and won the challenge.
Yeah, definitely Ozzy. And then Yule offering to give the idol to Becky is not great, because he would have done it.
Right. Yeah, and there's no reason to. There's absolutely no reason to.
Just protect yourself, man.
Yeah.
Not enough to give him worst. We'll talk about worst in a second, but best was Ozzy.
Yeah. With a bullet.
Josh, why don't you tell us who the worst player of the episode was? And just a reminder, we cannot give it to the person who was eliminated in said episode. So Sandra cannot win worst player of the episode.
I'm going to go by default here. Becky. If you want to get super just nitty gritty, technically the better move would be to take the idol and vote Yule out. Whether or not you actually want to do that, so be it. And then also taking 90 minutes to win a fire making challenge. Like, yeah, you won, but did you really?
Or just even taking the idol for the guaranteed third place money.
Yeah.
I say you take the idol, vote out Yule, and get the second place money.
Ideally, yes. But basically, there's like 4 options here, and she took the worst route.
Yeah.
She made it, but it was embarrassing, and she's got no chance. All right, final tribal council. Final 3. Opening statements. Yule says he influenced the course of the game the most and owns up to being manipulative.
Yeah.
Yeah?
Great opening statement.
Sweet.
Becky says she was honest and played a social game.
I mean, true.
I mean, yeah, but, that's it. Ozzy says he's the only original I2 member to make the merge, which is crazy. This I2 is the only tribe in Survivor history, original tribe, that has no jury members. They were all pre-merge, and then Ozzy made it at the end. And he was honest the entire game. Yeah,
pretty fair.
If you win every challenge, you can be honest the entire game. Okay. And what we're going to get here is Yule and Ozzy, I think, are the second and third best final tribal council performers we've seen. I think Chris is number 1 still. I think the second tier is Yule and Ozzy. And Yule's probably slightly better because he wins, but I think it's Yule and Ozzy at second and third, and everyone else below them. I think we get just a masterful clash here and a great final tribal council.
Who was first before Chris?
I gotta go back and think.
Was that Richard?
Might have been Richard.
I think it was Richard.
Because I think I would put him kind of in the second tier with.
Yeah, Richard can go. Okay, Richard can go in the second tier with them, I think. But I do think because we have seasons under our belt now, I think Yule and Ozzy are better.
That's fair.
Richard was season 1. I'll cut him some slack. But I think Yule and Ozzy. I think not only are they top second tier, but I think this is the most evenly matched final tribal council we've ever seen, and I think we will ever see. I think based on pure final tribal council, I think this is the most closest. Dominic and Wendell, yeah, they're going to tie, but I don't think Wendell is very good in that final tribal council. But in this moment, in this tribal council, Yule versus Ozzy, it's awesome.
Well, and what's so beautiful is Ozzy embodies outplay. He's got the physical thing down pat, and everything he says that talks about that, he's not lying. He's telling the truth. All he can do is try and accentuate other parts of his game, which he tries to touch on. The jury honestly doesn't give them many opportunities to address the other pieces of their game. I do agree that Yule, just because of how articulate he is, outperforms Ozzy in Final Tribal Council.
But it's close.
It's close.
It's very close.
And it's especially impressive because Ozzy puts it succinctly. Yule's a lawyer and I'm a surfer, dude.
Yeah.
And still, Ozzy's very good here.
Yeah, he is.
So there's 9 jury members. Most of them do nothing and garbage.
A bunch of wasted opportunities.
There's only 4 I want to talk about. I think there's 4 good ones. Nate goes and he wants to hear about Ozzy's strategic game. Ozzy talks about the Billy vote, and generally it's like who cares about the pre-merge stuff, but Ozzy's got one advantage here. Nobody else here can refute anything that happened on I2. He can say whatever he wants because no one can refute it.
His recollection or his recanting is reality.
And he talks about how he did the Billy vote. And then his other strategy, which we will see is as a winning strategy in a later season. He played up this surfer persona. Pretended that's all he was. He played that up so much like, yeah, bro, I'm just here for a good time. And he was really hiding the more strategic elements that he had. Maybe a little too well. Maybe he hit him a little too well. But I do believe him when he says, like, yeah, I was definitely playing up this part. We're going to see it work. And I think it starts here. I really like this.
I like it because the unfortunate thing is that the people that he was working over with that strategy wasn't old Raro. It was I2, whom he's sitting next to two of them. He can't win over their jury votes because he's sitting next to him. Because why do you think it took them so long to realize that, wow, Ozzy's kind of a threat? Because he was probably playing up this idea that he, is just a surfer guy. It's surface level.
Yeah, you need to take it one step further so you're not so you're at least taken seriously.
Yeah, and Ozzy definitely needs another strategic moment in his hat, I think, to cap this whole thing off. Nate wants to know why Becky deserves to win. Becky says it's because you and I did everything together, and that's it. And then Jeff's like, "You satisfied, Nate?" "No, I'm not." It's like, "Thank you, Nate. Thank you."
That's like one. I think that might be the first time that's ever happened, where it's like, "No,
that was a terrible answer, Becky. What are you doing?" And Becky's like, "Well, I mean, I rejected the idol offer because I wanted to earn my way." And it's like, okay, you can do that when you don't take 90 minutes to build a fire.
Yeah, it was kind of gifted to you. I want to take. This was an important question for me. We're in more of a gender equity time now, especially related to 2006. We've made leaps and bounds in 15 years. So I want to do something just for fun. Because what else do we do? Go back, second episode. Becky goes to the island. Becky finds the super idol, and somehow everything basically happens exactly the same, and we end up with the same final three. Is Becky the widely considered to be the one who's going to win because now she has been able to throw around the weight of the super idol in order to influence the game? Because they were tied at the hip the whole game.
If Becky had the super idol and everything else played out the same way, I think so. I think Becky could win.
And that's what she needed to say. She needs to try and take this super idol thing and turn it into a negative. Like, Yule's talking about how he was so strategic and he drove the game. It's really easy to do that when you were never at risk in the post-merge. My neck was on the line every vote, every time. And yeah, I worked with him, but you all wish that Yule was as much in your pocket as he was in mine. If I had the idol, I could have done the same thing, maybe better. That's the only thing she could have done that would have been a satisfactory answer and might have even pulled a vote or two in her direction. I doubt it because Yule found the idol and Chance is a part of Survivor.
Is Becky the worst Final Tribal Council performance we've seen so far?
No, because Colby said don't vote for me. But she is in that bottom tier right above.
Yeah, I think she's second worst.
Yeah.
I think she's above Colby, and I think that's it.
Yeah.
It's not great. It doesn't help she only gets 2 questions, but she doesn't do herself any favors.
Yeah.
Adam. It's like, hey, Ozzy, tell me why the others shouldn't win. Because Adam actually wants Ozzy to win, but he's made this deal to vote for Yule.
He painted himself into a moral corner there.
Dang it.
Which I respect.
Dang you, morality.
I respect Adam for this one. And Ozzy's like, well, Yule didn't work that hard, which is a really weak sauce answer. But what else can you say to Yule?
I think you piggyback kind of what Derek was talking about and frame it in the exact same thing as what Becky could have done and make the idol a negative thing and say, Yule didn't really do that much when you think about it. He influenced Penner and shifted the game. Other than that, whoop-de-doo.
Yep.
He took the I-2-4, which we were all part of, and rode it to the end and made one really, really good decision based on the power of the idol to switch Penner. Yeah, you can say, great, he found it in the first place, so he's able to do all that, but at least mentioning that could have benefited Ozzy.
Sure. And he's like, yeah, Becky rode coattails, and that final tribal council, or that the final fire making performance. Oof. Yeah, fair.
Yep.
Fair criticism.
He didn't need to say anything about Becky, and he still did.
Yeah. Candace accuses Yule of kind of beating around the bush and shamelessly pandering to the jury. So she wants him to give a yes or no answer. Do you shamelessly pander to the jury? And if he says anything else besides yes or no, she'll not vote for him. And Yule's just like, and everyone's just laughing. He wants to give a huge speech explaining himself.
I feel like he should have been disqualified just because his face was saying so much without saying anything. He's like, he winks or, he shuts one eye, kind of looks up, inquisitively, if I weigh out the odds, is it 51% yes, 49% no, so therefore I guess I have to say yes?
And he ends up saying yes, which is absolutely the right answer. We all know it.
Yes.
We all absolutely know it. Just say it. It's fine.
See, I was going to ask because I missed it. Who did Candace vote for?
Yule.
Okay.
She did vote for Yul.
So she had to think about it, and she was like, okay, we're fine.
Because afterward, because he's like, she's like, okay, yeah, that was tough for you, I know. And I was like, yeah, because, shamelessly, you can't talk. He's like, but I answered it. I did say yes or no. And she's like, think about it. Gotta be careful with those, man. Just keep it simple. Don't play with fire. Granted,
this is kind of a non-starter because the jury conversations don't really go this way anymore.
Yes.
But still fun to talk about.
Yes. But someone, today on the jury, someone could do that.
Yes. Yeah, in theory. Yep.
And finally, Brad comes up, and he's like, Ozzy, we've had 5 seconds to talk to each other this entire season. So, what's the toughest situation you've ever faced? And Ozzy gets really emotional talking about his poor relationship with his father, who's kind of been kind of a deadbeat.
Yeah, the biological father, yeah.
Yeah, and gets emotional real fast.
Yeah. Unexpected emotion.
Yeah, no, and this is
not
good.
From Ozzy, but just from that moment. I wasn't expecting that.
And this is really good for Ozzy. You can connect. Some people have had trouble connecting with Ozzy, and apparently he's kind of introverted. If you have something in common, it's really easy for him to connect, is what I've heard from people. Mm-hmm. But beyond that, he isn't the most outgoing person socially.
There's a wall there.
Yeah. So if there's people who have struggled to connect to him, there's something right there.
Yeah.
So I just thought this was a really powerful moment, really good.
Yeah. And by the way, I this was a good answer, but I do want to just talk about one more flaw that I noticed, and I actually noticed it on the answer to this question. There are a lot of people on the jury that Ozzy hasn't interacted with. He should have taken all of the opportunities for all of his questions to let those people get to know them and call it out. He should have called it out right from the beginning. Rather than Brad bringing it up to him, he should have brought it up to Brad and said, one of the things I wish I could have done better in this game, it was out of my control, is get to know Brad better, get to know Jenny better. Because why would you guys vote for me? Now they're listening.
Yep.
Now they're listening.
And this is another mechanic flaw that won't get fixed right away. I hate when pre-merge people get on the jury. They shouldn't be there. And it's not because there's some great personalities that we get on here this way. That's not the reason. It's because they haven't met some people. Yeah. Probably.
Yeah.
It's stupid. This is a terrible mechanic.
Yeah, you need to have the perspective.
Yeah.
Give everyone a chance to have known everybody, even if it's only for a day.
Yeah, this is unfair. The server's not always fair, but the mechanics should be fair.
We can fix this.
Yeah, we can do better.
There's an easy fix, just like there is with the Super Idol.
There's a better way.
A Super Idol.
There's a better way to play the game.
Yep.
And design the game. No closing statements, and we are not going to see these again except for Survivor Co. Wrong. They will come back, and that is the last time we will see closing statements. One more time.
It's kind of interesting.
Yeah, and the question I have, because I don't know the answer, is do they still do them and just not air them?
Maybe.
And that could be the case. I hope that's the case, because I like giving them as many chances as they can. They might still do them and just not air them.
Yeah.
They're not
if you choose one or the other, I would almost rather have a closing statement than an opening statement.
Sure. So Yul ends up winning 5-4 with Ozzy taking second. And again, if Adam had gone the way he wanted to go, we'd have a different winner.
Yeah.
Crazy.
Who are our final votes for Yul?
Final votes for Yul were Brad, Candace, Penner, Adam, and Sandra. So Rebecca, Jenny, Nate, and Parvati voted for Ozzy.
Okay.
So my question, did the right person win?
Yeah, but I think the more interesting question, not to be a politician, is that there were 2 right answers. So yeah, the right person won, but let's say that Candace decided that Yul broke her rules, and she votes for Ozzy. My answer would still be yes. And this is one of the few times I feel that I'll be able to say that.
I agree completely.
Me too. My main reason was that you could view Yul's game 2 different ways. Is it could have been seen as almost dominant, just the way that he was able to get to the end. But you can also see the negative side of it, where he was carried by a super idol. Now, you can easily point out the negative side of Ozzy's that he carried himself through challenges, but that's more something active that he did on a week-to-week basis versus just having an idol in his pocket.
So I want to address this question maybe a little bit differently, and I know we have talked about this before, but rather than who deserves to win, I'm curious, gentlemen, who would you have voted for? Who would, if you're on the jury, and, regardless of, betrayal or whatever, who would you have voted for?
Well, unfortunately, you have to rule out the social side of it because you have no actual interaction with the person.
So yes, and so I'll use the social as the tiebreaker because you'll play the better strategic game. Ozzy played the better physical game. Easy done. So that brings us to the social game, which is hard to say because we don't know these people. I think based on personality, I would have gotten along better with Yul. So I think I would have voted for Yul. Again, Who knows? And this is, I think, as close as I will ever get. I think this, for me, this is the closest final vote ever. And I think I would have given it to Yule. If Ozzy had won the season, I wouldn't be mad. Let me be clear, because I think both of these two are great. But I think I would have voted for Yule.
I think I would have gotten along with Yule pretty well. That isn't to say that I would have not gotten along with Ozzy. So I feel like that would have almost canceled out for me. I do remember watching this season the first time. I was disappointed that Ozzy didn't win. So maybe that's enough for me to signal that I could have voted for Ozzy in this instance.
I mean, yeah, we both picked Ozzy as our winner.
Yeah.
I feel like I can decisively say for myself, I would have appreciated Yule's game a lot better, because it's not just getting the super idol, it's how you wield it, because you can play a super idol all wrong.
Terry did not play it very well.
Right.
Yule played it perfectly.
Right. Even if we want to jump to the social game as a tiebreaker, we remember all the times that Yule, even dealing with Cowboy, he wasn't like, oh, Cowboy. To the camera, he's telling some inappropriate jokes, but he's not like, wow, Cowboy, real old timer stuck in, old ways, doing these bad things. He's just like, he's different from me. And, he was able to be like, wow, all these other people, they understand this social thing with Jonathan Penner. Maybe I need to go back and I need to recognize that. And that's because he has bonds with these people and he trusts them too. From what we saw, almost everything about Yule's social strategic game originated in the social game. That's why he knew Penner was a logical player, because he knew him. That's why he knew that Adam would be true in keeping his vote to him, or why he suspected if he listened to Adam and would give him his jury vote. Almost all evidence points that Yule had the better social game, and we saw it. So it's close. Like you said, Ryan, wouldn't be mad either way, but I would give my vote to Yule.
I'm really curious what it would have been if there was just one person from I2 on the jury.
Sure. And let's go back a person. Let's say because nowadays a lot of times we have 10 people on the jury. Let's add one person. We had Flicka. Flicka's voting for Ozzy 100%.
Yep.
Tie. Becky's the tiebreaker now.
Yule wins.
Yule wins.
Yes.
Yes. So but that just tells you how close this was.
Yeah. And who knows if that extra person can help ask specific questions to influence.
Flicka would.
Yeah. Fair. But who knows how that ends up working, if it can flip a vote here or there. Maybe it can be enough reason for maybe Adam to decide, yep, you know what, I really do want to vote for Ozzy.
It's just crazy how tight this was, because Parvati and Adam could have gone either way, depending on their mood.
And they did.
Candace could have gone either way.
And they did split. Candace could have said, you broke the rules. Rebecca never met either of them. And then Jenny and Brad only met Yule, and they split. It's just crazy how close this was.
Sandra had no reason to necessarily favor Yule over Ozzy. Ozzy arguably did more to get their Final Four alliance to the Final Four.
The only definite person here, really, Brad a little bit, but Penner.
Yeah.
Penner's the only locked-in vote, really. Maybe Brad a little bit. It's crazy how close this was.
Yeah.
Fantastic Final Tribal Council. As much as I dislike the season, amazing Final Tribal Council. Mm-hmm. I think I can speak for all of us when I say I want to see Ozzy and Yule come back.
Yeah.
Yes. Both of them. I think easy. They're both going to play again. Hell yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So, you guys did not get your winner picks right. They were so close.
Bummer.
My second one was correct. Hooray.
Hooray.
Congrats, I guess.
Reunion show is actually really good, especially because they spend a lot of time talking to Yule and Ozzy, and we get some really good breakdowns with them, and I think that's really good. So, solid reunion show. Mm. So, let's wrap up the season. Best player of the season. And again, we can, we're going to have best and worst player here. We can only choose from the people who made the merge. We got 9 people to choose from.
Yep. I'm going to say that it's Yule. But again, if someone was like, no, Ozzy, he's arguably put up the most dominant physical performance of all time, it's got to be him, I'd be like, I am not going to change your mind. I can't.
I agree with everything you said to the letter, Derek.
Now, I said I might toss my vote on Ozzy, but I'm going to say that Yule's the better player. I feel like if they would both play on the same season, again, I feel like Yule would come out on top.
Sure.
That's just what my opinion on it would be.
I kind of want a Yule versus Ozzy captain season. I can't believe we never get that. That'd have been fun.
That
would have
be
been
cool.
Real fun.
Jeff Probst, I got an idea.
Yeah. I think that Yule would end up doing better in that circumstance. So I guess I'm going to go with him as my overall best.
Yeah. Worst player of the 9.
Yeah, I'm going to go with Penner.
Okay. I'm going to disagree because I think Penner definitely has some strategic chops. He dealt himself into a really bad situation.
Yes.
I think Penner has strategy. And Nate, I don't think... Nate is not good at Survivor. I think Penner put himself in a terrible spot, and Nate could have beat him in the end. But I think overall Nate is the worst player.
Yeah, I think this might be the way that we interpreted the question, because I agree with you that I think starting from scratch, right? Like, let's say both Nate and Penner were to come back, I would trust Penner to do better than Nate. But I'm thinking about it within the context of this season, this post-merge, and if you're drawing dead at 9 people left,
Well, it was technically 8. He was drawing dead.
Fine. You're drawing dead at 8 people left, and the way he painted himself into such a corner and managed to somehow betray everybody. So within the context of this season, that was why I did it. So I was thinking more of it, bookended season 13.
Sure.
I'm going to go with Penner. Mostly for the stuff that Derek's saying. I think that he would absolutely learn from his mistakes, but he made so many more mistakes than Nate really did. And they were at such a higher level.
I just think Penner
and like
did more
game-killing moves.
Penner did more good things though, because Nate did like nothing good.
True, but in the end, it really does not matter because of his ability to kill his game. Sure. Now, if they're both to play again, let's just explore that option.
Penner versus Nate Captain season.
Yeah, I think Penner wins almost hands down on something like that, but who knows? So I'm going to go with Penner.
You two are kind of on the same page this season.
Yeah, really are.
This hasn't really happened before.
Weird.
Really simpatico over here.
You're welcome, Derek.
Jeff Watch. Derek, you have some things to say.
Yeah. So, okay, first of all, in the reunion show, Jeff makes a very pointed, stare down at the camera and says, "Hey, Jenny didn't speak up at Tribal, and she should have. Speak up at Tribal more." Well, guess what, Jeff? They heard you. The people were listening.
Cut to Survivor Game Changers.
And now
we have live tribals.
And now every tribal is a live tribal, to the point of you needing to put on subtitles because we were sick of it.
Yes.
So you started this.
It's all
you
your
asked
fault,
for it.
Jeff.
And if I'm ever playing Survivor one day and you tell me to stop talking, I will tell you that you asked for this. And it'll make for great TV and you will hate me forever.
You asked for this in Cook Islands.
I watched Cook
And
Islands.
then the only other thing of note, and this was a specific moment with the fire-making challenge between Sandra and Becky.
He's so annoyed.
I've never seen Jeff give a disappointed father look quite as much as I saw this. He's like, I put you on an island for 39 days with Ozzy and Flint and nothing to do, and neither of you can build fire. Why? And he's just like, the fact when he's just like, I'm pulling the plug. I'm done.
Here's matches.
We're gonna go to matches.
Like, you know darn well, Jeff is okay with sitting for a 12-hour immunity challenge between Ian and Tom, and he loves that. The fact that this is where he draws the line, and he's like, no, this is worthless. This does nothing.
I just want to point out maybe the first use of big moves. It's the first one I can recall.
Yeah, absolutely.
I don't remember exactly when it was, but I know he definitely talked about making big moves. That's what we got to do. And it might have been actually the Jenny moment.
Yeah, I think it was during the reunion show when they were talking to Jenny.
Yep.
He says big moves. So the dawning of the Survivor resume. So congratulations, Jeff. You have planted the seeds for both live tribals and Survivor resumes.
You ruined Survivor here as well.
This is where it all started.
Okay, weather report, anything to note?
You know, Ryan, you kept telling me that this is probably the most beautiful location, scenery and honestly weather-wise, that we'll ever get with Survivor, and I'm going to agree with you. Everything here was pretty stunning. We didn't hear about anything too bad. A couple storms here and there, but that's bound to happen, and it wasn't that bad.
I'm going to say this is probably the easiest season.
I think it might be.
I think at 13, I think this one's number one.
Through the first 13 seasons, I think it's hands down the easiest.
The only other one that might be in the running is Borneo.
Yeah.
And that's just because they got more equipment on Borneo.
Sure.
But they both got marooned with equipment on this season, so I think these are 1 and 2.
Yeah.
Easy. Okay, Josh, our memorability consultant.
So
you tell us what the most memorable moment of the season is. In the pre-merge, you had the mutiny.
Yes.
So what would you say is the best moment of the post-merge, and is it enough to beat the mutiny?
So I think there's 2 obvious moments that stand out to me. The 2 are them being surprised by a final 3 instead of final 2. And just the fact that that's introduced for the first time. And then the other one is the fire-making challenge. For the post-merge, I'm going to narrow it down and have it be the fire-making challenge as the most memorable. Are there any other nominees before I move on?
The fire making is mine for the post-merge, for sure.
Both of those things. I'm a sucker for game mechanics, but I still think that horrendous fire-making challenge takes the cake.
Yeah. I think that's a pretty safe bet. So that's my most memorable for the post-merge. ultimately it's not enough to overcome the mutiny. The mutiny carries on to the end of the game. It gets brought up
In Final Tribal.
And the mutiny causes there to be an I-2-4, which is the final four. So I think it has to be that.
I agree completely.
And it's just such a bad move.
It's a terrible move. Both are, interestingly, the pre-merge and the post-merge most memorable moments, both terrible and embarrassing. All right, last thing we have to do is we have to add Cook Islands to our season rankings. I will go ahead and go first. So 13 seasons in, here is my rankings. In first place is Season 10, Palau. Season 7, Pearl Islands. Season 9, Vanuatu. Season 1, Borneo. Season 6, the Amazon. Season 11, Guatemala. Season 12, Panama. Season 3, Africa. Season 2, Australia. Season 4, Marquesas. And coming in 11th place, Season 13, Cook Islands, with All-Stars in Thailand below that.
Yeah, and I'll go really quickly. My from best to worst goes Season 10, 7, 6, 9, 11, 2, 12, 1, 3, and coming in at the 10th spot is Season 13, Cook Islands, ahead of All-Stars, Marquesas, and Thailand.
Okay.
And I do think that it is in a different tier from Thailand, obviously, and then I would say even one above Marquesas, and All-Stars, but it was good. It was good Survivor. I enjoyed it.
This is for me. It's with All-Stars in Thailand where I don't like the season.
Sure.
Whereas the one above it, Marquesas, I still like.
Love the winner, but you hate the season.
Yeah, I love and Marquesas is kind of the opposite, where I don't like the winner, but I love the season.
Sure.
For me, top to bottom, it goes Pearl Islands, Palau, Amazon, Vanuatu, Borneo, Australia, Guatemala, Panama, Africa, and then Cook Islands.
Okay. Which number would that be?
10 as well.
Coming in at number 10?
Yep. I debated for a long time getting it in front of Africa there, but I just couldn't do it.
And then Marquesas All-Star Thailand.
Yep, Marquesas All-Star Thailand. Overall, I think it's a step above Marquesas and then the other two. But I think this is an enjoyable season, especially the first time watching it through. There's some negative parts of it. There's some mechanics that are really buggy. But I think that there can still be things that you can pull that are enjoyable. So, yeah.
All right. Well, next time we're going to be talking about Season 14, Fiji, which, Derek, I don't think you know anything about.
Yeah, so full disclosure, and I'll touch on this at the beginning of the 14 Rewind podcast as well, but I don't even think I know the winner. They weren't on 40.
They were not.
I didn't remember it was Fiji until you told me. You said there might be a couple people that I know. No.
I don't think you've seen you've not seen anyone from this season play.
Okay, so I am totally green on this. I know nothing. I am like Jon Snow. I know nothing.
Mm-hmm. So this will be fun. I like Fiji quite a bit, but I don't think a lot of people do. I think this is one of those seasons where I like a lot more than the average Survivor fan.
Sure.
I will say the pre-merge is kind of crappy, but I love the post-merge.
Yeah, this for me, this season is very forgettable. I can't just... Thinking from the outside, I can't really think of anything that stands out for me, and I think a lot of people from it are forgettable as well. But I could be wrong, just because this was while I was just binge watching Survivor, so stuff can get all muddled.
There are plenty of forgettable and unlikable people in the season, but there's a few that are just amazing. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, I like Fiji more than average. I know Jeff Probst really doesn't like this season, but
yeah, and the theme is haves versus have-nots,
which is a terrible theme. I
didn't even notice that.
That's haves versus have-nots. It's a terrible theme. They mentioned at the end of the reunion show. Polarizing season, generally not very well liked. I disagree.
I'm gonna tell you again. We just got done complaining about some game mechanics, and I have some issues right off the bat with our game mechanics of season 14.
But they do give us the standard modern day immunity idol.
Sure.
So that's a good thing.
Hooray!
Sure. All right. Anything else, guys?
That's everything.
I think so.
You can follow us on Twitter at Castaway Pod and go ahead and give us any 5-star reviews. I think we got one that we want to read off.
All right, so yeah, we got a comment way back on December 14th, 2020. So happy birthday to Ryan.
Yep, my birthday.
But it is 5 stars. It says great content. It is from Pete GP21. It said watch Survivor as a kid and haven't watched since around season 20. Getting back into it by watching the earlier seasons. Their pre-merge and post-merge pods are worthwhile. They add a lot of perspective, insight, and interesting commentary. They all have great chemistry and appreciate their Midwestern accents and sayings, as I'm from Wisconsin myself. I didn't realize that we came across as that Midwestern. I understand that I have a bit of an accent. Ryan, quiet, you do too, even if you think that you deleted
I
it.
absolutely do not have an accent, but I do have the sayings. Absolutely.
So please tweet at us. Let us know. What is something that we're saying or doing that is so Midwestern? And by the way, Pete GP, thank you.
Yeah, thank
we
you.
love the comment. We appreciate it. So, yeah, let us know. What is it that we do that's so Midwestern? How can we fix this, or how do we make it better?
Oh, yeah, you betcha.
Oh, yeah, you betcha.
And we've also gotten other messages just through DMs, so those are always really appreciated. It's always good to know your thoughts on how we're doing. So feel free to just reach out anytime if there's something you particularly like, or if there's something that you
be
don't.
improved.
Yeah, we're always looking for improvement. So
We are open to constructive criticism.
yeah,
Just
so,
don't be a dick.
Yeah, so.
Yeah.
We will almost always respond for any messages that come across. So
Yeah, I know one thing I really appreciated from one of the messages we received, just the gist of it was, you guys are like the friends of mine that watch Survivor with me because I don't have anyone else that loves it like I do. That's why we do this.
That's exactly right.
Because we were already talking about Survivor an unhealthy amount, and so we decided to record it. Ryan's putting in the time to edit, so we really appreciate it. We love it, and we're happy to have the listeners that we do. We appreciate all of you.
Yeah, when we started this thing, it was just kind of, this was the Survivor podcast I wanted to listen to. There's things that, there's other Survivor podcasts I really like, but they were all missing something that I'm like, do this would be cool. And so it's really nice to hear that what we want to put into this, you like to hear, and that means a lot. So, from the bottom of my heart, and I think I speak for all of the collective hearts, thank you very much. We appreciate it. You're the best.
Absolutely.
All right. Anything else,
Thanks.
guys?
No.
All right. This has been the Castaway Consultants.
Got nothing else for you.
good night.